Fiddle again, and hello, it's Fo. As a continuation from Magic Monday, what we're going to do is we're going to playtest our deck, the Forest, against the easiest AI opponent, and try and have a nice long game, and try and play out most of our cards, just to test out most of the strategies we have in the deck. Underneath the story mode where we went before, you can see battle mode. We're going to click there. And then instead of a versus battle where we'd play against someone else on the internet, we're going to go with solo battle. And that'll let us play against the computer. We'll find our deck, the Forest. Here it is. As you can see, we've got 3 modes. We can play it on easy, medium or hard. We're going to leave it on easy. Just for the first time, I would suggest putting your AI opponent on easy, then on medium before hard. Now we're going to go and click on continue, and as it loads up, we're going to pray that we get a good opening hand. Good opening hand for our deck is going to have 2 or 3 lands and something that we can play on the first 2 or 3 turns. Ideally, because we're going to be playing so many lands over the course of the game, we want to get our cards with landfall out as early as possible. Two lands are going to be enough for us, so we're going to keep the hand because we have 2 1-drops. We've got those early plays. We're going to logically lay out the Jaddi Offshoot first, because every land that we play following that, we're going to be able to gain 1 life. Over the course of a long game, Jaddi Offshoot's going to gain us plenty of life. Our opponent's land comes in tapped, and that's often a feature with lands that offer 2 different colours of mana. We're going to get our 3rd land. We don't have any 3-drops, and our 2-drop is a removal spell essentially to take care of one of our opponent's creatures. Thankfully we can play out old Mrs. Bashiri. The next turn, even if we don't get one of our good 3-drops, we can use Mrs. Bashiri's available ability when she comes out of Summoning Sickness. We've got our 4th land, that's great, we're on our way. So we can use Mrs. Bashiri's ability here. We can tap her now that she doesn't have Summoning Sickness. And we get a 1/1 creature. We get our creature advantage well underway. In our end step, our opponent's going to cycle a card. Some cards have this ability on them that if you don't have enough mana to pay for the card, then you can put it into the graveyard to draw a different one. With their 3rd turn, they're going to get out a creature. That's them started on the road to having an army. We're going to build a much bigger army, and over time they're going to have to block with their creatures, and they're going to lose them all. So another land, another life. Once we get our 5th land, we can use Mrs. Bashiri's 2nd ability to create a much bigger token, and it's going to be based on the number of creatures we have at the time. So if we keep building up our creature advantage, we can get at least a 4/4 next turn if we only get a land, and we can play nothing else. Opponent has a lot of tapped lands. Our opponent's 2nd creature has Embalm, which means if it dies and goes to the graveyard, our opponent can pay the Embalm cost to bring it back as a zombie token version of itself. No land, but it is a creature that we can play. Sylvan Advocate's good. It's good for 2/3 with Vigilance, but it's much better as a 4/5 with Vigilance once we get our land count up a little bit higher. Just hang back and build up the army. Until our opponent lays a flying creature, we should be safe. It's a very vanilla creature, vanilla abilities. It's not a land, but turn this as Pilgrimage. Brilliant. So we're definitely going to play this straight away. We'll get our land. Any 2. Any random 2 forests. They're all the same. Then once we lay our land, we can now play our kill spell. We're going to target our Sylvan Advocate, because he now has his 4 power. And we're going to use that to do 4 damage. It's most efficient to do it with a creature with 4 toughness. And because he should survive a fight even if he's multi-blocked, we're going to attack him. Forgot about his ability. Whenever our opponent cycles a card, which they just did, because they had 1 available mana left over, their creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So the multi-block is going to play Sylvan Advocate. At least our opponent is only left with the weaker creature, the 2/1. We have so many tapped lands. Attacking with a 2/1 in Bam is strange, unless they wanted to die. So what we're going to do is we're going to block up the Jadi Offshoot, our 0/3. That way the Jadi Offshoot won't die, but then neither will our opponent's creature. Then we can maybe punish them by attacking them back. Try and keep them off this planet of attacking us. Just like the Jadi Offshoot, we're going to play our Tireless Tracker before we play these bigger threats. Just so that every land that we play from here on in is going to generate us a clue token. And then we can pay 2 and sacrifice that clue token to draw a card. Oh, we're getting counterspelled unless we pay. Well, we do have the available mana to pay, so we're going to. Ideally we would have got our Tireless Tracker out on turn 3, so then we could have benefited from a couple of clues already. But every following land we're going to get a clue token, and then we can sacrifice that clue token to draw a card and put a counter on our Tireless Tracker. There's our opponent's punishment for attacking us with their little BAM creature. You can press the continue button to skip the attack animations, but don't need to do it here. It's enjoyable to watch the last one when all the damage is rolling through. Our opponent's got a flyer, and it counters spells that target it for removal. Our opponent doesn't know that we've got a Hydra with reach, we're just waiting. It'll land out first. It's going to give us a life and a clue. We need 1 more land so we can cast our big enchantment, so let's go get that land with our Hydra. We've already got Rogue's Passage, so all that we're left with is forests. Northern area. It's another clue and another life. So our landfall synergies are working well. Just build up and maintain control. Our opponent's not going to be able to attack us. Now this card has an ability that it can tap one of our creatures. But when we can get our enchantment out, no flying creatures will be able to attack us. So even if they tap down our Hydra with reach and then try, they're not going to be able to get through with their flying creatures. They just won't be able to attack. Again, we're just going to use the Jadi Offshoot here. I don't know what his plan is to kill off this creature, but I'm not falling for it. There we go. So here we've got the options. We can get this down. We could sacrifice clue tokens. That was going to be a counter spell there. Nope, we're fine. We're just going to get our enchantment counterspelled. So now, as well as our opponent's flying creatures not being able to attack us, at our end step every turn we generate a 5/5 creature token. So only creatures on the ground can swing in back and forth, and we're generating a 5/5 creature every turn. So our opponent shouldn't be able to get through to us at all. We can attack with our creature tokens if we need to. We don't care so much about our creature tokens, we're not emotionally attached to them. Not as much as our Jaddy offshoot, he's a hero. So we could cast our Oblivion Sword here. Really, we'd like to get Ulamog to exile a whole lot of lands before we bring in all the lands from our opponent's exile pile, rather than just 4. So what we'll do is we'll sacrifice a few clues. The game is suggesting that we use our Rogue's Passage to generate one of the colourless mana used for the clue. If we want to save our Rogue's Passage to use on one of our creatures, as well as sacrifice a couple of clues, then we can press the control button and it'll cycle to 2 forests instead to pay for the spell. So our first draw is a Sylvan Advocate. We can get that out, no problem. Replaces his Fallen Brethren. And again, we would just want to sacrifice a few more clues, try and find Ulamog. Well, a land. Maybe try again. All of these are making our Tireless Tracker bigger anyway, so it's not in vain, even if we don't draw the right cards. Now we want to save the last clue for next turn. If we lay the Tireless Tracker next turn, then we lay our land, that'll generate 2 clues, and then when we sacrifice those clues, it'll generate tokens for both the Tireless Trackers every time we sacrifice a clue. So our opponent is using their creature's ability to tap down our biggest creature so it doesn't attack them. We're just going to attack him with our 5/5 token that we're not attached to. It helps keep their army down, keeps their numbers down. As long as we stay with the creature advantage, we'll be fine. We're not trying to kill our opponent, we're trying to drag the game out and stay in a commanding position, really. So they're using the Embalm ability on their flyer. So as before, as I just said, we're going to get the Tireless Tracker, then the land. We've got Oath and Nissa, which can maybe look for another land or a creature. I'm not going to find a Planeswalker with it, because we took our Planeswalker out in favour of the creature that flips into the Planeswalker, Nissa. Let's have a look, see what we get. So we can get Ronas here, our god. We've got plenty of creatures now that have power 4 or more, so he's not going to have any restrictions on him. Now we've got space to sack 2 clues with our 4 mana remaining. And there's our Ulamog, that's who we're looking for. So this is the other synergy that I was describing. Just fire off this other clue because we can. If we lay Ulamog first, and then attack with him, he exiles the top 20 cards of our opponent's library. Then if we play the Oblivion Sword after that, we can get all of the lands in that exile pile into play under our control, untapped, and that'll trigger all our landfall abilities again. So here's a good example of why we're attacking with only our token creature. Our opponent's playing a spell to exile target attacking creature, you know. So even our indestructible god, if that spell is played on him when he's attacking, he would get removed from the game entirely. A better AI might have saved that spell for Ronas. Unless they have multiple copies. I think before getting Ulamog out, what we're going to do is we're going to get our Cat Snake. And that's going to stop any possible counter spells. Our opponent here has got another embalmed creature. Birdman! Right, if they keep blocking our 5/5s, they're going to run out of creatures eventually. Yeah, I think the combination here we can get out both. If we get out our cat snake, stops our creatures getting counterspelled. And if we get out our Hydra first, it's just more landfall triggers. When we get all the land from the Oblivion Soar, it'll put all those counters onto our Hydra. So again, got a couple of mana left over. Sacrifice a clue. Opponent is tapping down our big creature again. What we're going to do is we're going to attack in with Ronus and 5/5. They don't have any spells to exile Ronus, and we want to thin down their creatures to next to nobody. We really want to get rid of that creature that has the ability, because we don't want him to tap down our Ulamog to stop him from attacking and setting up our fantastic Oblivion Soar play. So our opponent's down at 12. We're nice and comfortable up on 30. So our opponent is going to draw X cards. X is going to be 6. And they're going to discard a card. Again, they've left themselves with no mana to play any spells. So we're going to attack with Ronus again. Remember Ulamog, we could exile both the defending creatures. We've got that option to any 2 cards. But the more mean thing to do, the better control to get, is to exile their land. Puts them back a little bit. So we're going to try and clear away our opponent's board. Looks successful. Now our opponent isn't going to be able to tap down all of them all, so we can't attack. Opponent's using their Bam ability again. Get a creature back out of the graveyard in token form. So we've got options. We can get this out first, because it's landfall. Whenever we lay a land, we can either gain 2 life, or we can put a +1/+1 counter on one of our creatures. I think all of our creatures are pretty big enough. I think we can just gain life as many times as we get land. Just see how high we can get it up to. So if we attack in with these 3, Ulamog exiles the top 20 cards. They're going to have to block Ulamog or they'll die. The AI will always block the biggest creature. Then we get through for 5 Ronus, 5 token. And then we're going to get all the land out of the exile pile. So we choose our opponent exiles the top 4 cards of our library, as if it wasn't bad enough already, and then we get all of the land into play. gain 33 life in between our Jadi offshoot and our retreat to Kazandu triggers. We've got as much clue tokens as we could ever possibly need. And our Hydra is massive. We haven't laid a land ourselves this turn yet, so we're gonna run out Nissa. We're just gonna look for a forest. We still have a few left. And when we lay that, it triggers Nissa, the creature. It's gonna flip it in Nissa, the planeswalker. Another landfall trigger all around. And then I think we've got enough creatures. We're not going to need to use the negative ability on our Nissa planeswalker. We're going to go up by one and have a look at the top card of our library. If it's a land, we get to put it straight into play. If not, we get to put it into our hand. There we go. He's a good finisher. It gives all of our creatures +2/+2 and trample to land a turn when we cast him. And finish this off. Make use of all this land that we have and all these clues. And draw a few cards. See if we get anything else worth playing before we swing in for the last hurrah. We can use Mrs. Bashiri's second ability now that we have loads and loads of creatures out. Can make one massive creature. 14/14 is pretty big. So plenty more land. Don't think there's anything that more exciting in the deck, so we'll see what we draw next turn. Unless it's an exciting creature or it's particularly useful. So our opponent is getting out a blocker. I'm pretty sure we'll be safe to swing in with everything and be able to do more than 2 damage. Maybe 102. So we'll do the Nissa one up again. I'll draw us another creature. Tempted to play this one. Maybe play both. We'll play both. So we'll put a token on. Why not? I think we've got enough life now. I think we've proved the point that we can gain plenty of life. So we're going to play out our Walking Ballista. This we included in the deck so we can deal with our opponent's creatures and deal damage to them. So XX, if we count up, we need 10 left over, so we can spend 14, so we can go up to 7. So Walking Ballista comes in as a 7/7. We could take 2 counters off of it to ping our opponent for 2 damage, 1 at a time. But we're gonna remove the creature that's in our way of our great big final attack. So now that we've got an open field, we're going to cast out the Decimator of the Provinces. It's going to give all of our creatures +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. And then we're going to swing in for the final attack. Let's see how much damage we can do. So we proved we can gain plenty of life. We can see how much life we can take off our opponent. Ulamog again when he attacks. Exiles the top 20 cards. Our opponent's got less than 20 cards left, so even if the attack wasn't fatal, then our opponent would lose the game at the start of their next turn because they wouldn't be able to draw a card because they had no cards left. It's an automatic game. So again, we could skip the damage animation, but I enjoy watching it when it's this much. So this was against the easy AI. Next time we'll play a little bit faster, more aggressively. They'll try out the medium and hard AIs, and then perhaps move on to a real world opponent that isn't going to play so predictably. $156 damage I think is enough to do. So I think we've proved that our green deck is certainly reasonable, and we'll see what it's like with better opponents. See you then.